You owe this family. My father's voice echoed across the dining room, and every fork stopped moving. Everyone looked at me, waiting for my reaction. I didn't say a word. For years, I had quietly paid bills nobody knew about. My brother's truck payment, my sister's rent, my parents' insurance, even the business loan that was never my responsibility. No one thanked me anymore. It had simply become expected. My mother looked away, pretending to rearrange the plates. My brother kept eating as if nothing had happened. Then my father pointed at me. If this family needs you, you help. That's your duty. Something inside me cracked. Not because of the money, but because after everything I had sacrificed, I was still treated like I wasn't doing enough. I smiled softly, finished my dinner, and walked out without another word. But what they didn't know was that I had already made a decision that would change everything. My apartment was completely silent when I arrived home. I placed my keys on the table, opened my laptop, and signed into my online banking account. One by one, dozens of automatic payments appeared on the screen. Mortgage, car payment, insurance, business loan, monthly transfers. Together they totaled $16,140. For years, that money disappeared before I even had a chance to think about myself. I stared at the screen for a long time. I remembered canceled vacations, postponed dreams, and the tiny apartment I still rented because everyone else's future always came before mine. My finger hovered over one button. Cancel autopay. One click. Then another. And another. Within minutes, every payment was gone. I closed my laptop, made myself a cup of tea, and slept peacefully for the first time in years. I had no idea that the next morning my phone would become impossible to ignore. At 7:12 a.m., my phone started ringing. My brother called first. Then my mother. Then my father. By breakfast, I had more than 30 missed calls. The first text simply read, "Why did my payment fail?" The second one was shorter. "Call us now." I didn't answer. Instead, I sat on my balcony and watched the sunrise while drinking coffee that somehow tasted lighter than ever before. Around noon, someone knocked on my door. It was my parents. My father walked inside without waiting for an invitation. "What have you done?" I calmly opened my banking app and placed the phone on the table. "Nothing," I replied. "I just stopped paying bills that were never mine." The room fell completely silent. For the first time, they weren't looking at their dependable daughter. They were looking at someone who had finally learned to say no. My father took a deep breath. "You can't do this to family." I looked at him and quietly answered. "I've been doing everything for this family for 8 years. No one spoke. My brother finally admitted he never knew I was paying for his truck. My sister realized I had covered her rent for months. My mother started crying. "I thought you wanted to help." "I did," I whispered. But helping became expectation, and expectation became obligation. Weeks passed. My brother sold his expensive truck. My father reorganized his business. My sister found another job. Nobody lost their home. Nobody fell apart. They simply learned to stand on their own. And for the first time, I began saving for a future that actually belonged to me. 3 months later, my father invited me to dinner again. This time there was no shouting. No accusations. Only silence. When dessert arrived, he looked at me and quietly said, "I'm sorry." Those 2 words carried more weight than every argument we had ever shared. My brother apologized for taking my generosity for granted. My mother admitted she had confused love with sacrifice. I listened without anger. Because somewhere along the way, I had already forgiven them. Not for their sake. For my own peace. As I drove home that night, I realized something important. Canceling the $16,140 autopay wasn't revenge. It was a boundary. For years I believed love meant giving until nothing was left. But real love doesn't demand that one person carries everyone else forever. The next month, my savings account grew instead of disappearing overnight. I booked my first vacation. I started looking for my own house. And every time I opened my banking app, I smiled. Because the strongest revenge isn't making people suffer. It's choosing yourself after spending years believing you never could.